Look, in the 90s, when we was making our music, we made it with the goal of being the best at doing it. Regardless of if somebody say it sounded lo-fi or hi-fi or sci-fi, we don't care what they said. We were young, energetic MCs and the producers that was like, yo, this is our sound from our streets, from our city, from our neighborhood. This is how we interpret it. And we was very confident that it was a proper interpretation. My own salvation. The entire landscape changed.
Melanin goddess that's before me. Hello. On this episode of Another Act, I'm joined by rap legend RZA, who talks about new music, his influence on the culture, and this new revealing season of Wu-Tang and American Saga. RZA, congrats on season 2 of Wu-Tang and American Saga, which of course is streaming currently on Hulu. Walk me back to why now was the right time to tell this particular story.
Well, I mean, I think it's always a good time to talk about youthism, growing up and trying to figure out your life, you know. But for me to do it through the Wu-Tang Clan, I just felt like after the book was circulating, feeling there was a milestone coming up. I think our 25th anniversary was coming up. And I just felt like, yo, it's time to, you know, to open the gate and to go back and hopefully tell our story and maybe inspire, you know, a new generation. Not only inspire about us, but inspire them about the pitfalls and things you could avoid or you could jump into being young in America.
Where did you guys start? Because so many members in the group, so many different stories I'm sure to tell. And also, these are very personal stories. I know some of the stories are inspired by your coming of age story, but they're very personal and things that we didn't know about group members before. So where did you guys start with that?
Well, you know, me as the abbot, as they call me, right? I just started with myself in all reality. Yeah. You know, the thing about Wu-Tang, a part of it that I guess that when you look in hindsight, that's important, is that there was a centralization. And that centralization was my house. Okay. Everybody came to my house to make these songs, you know, and play with my equipment and take their demo tapes home from there. So starting from that foundation, from the family, that was, you know, my family that became the nucleus to our creativity. It was a smart way to start. And the whole crew also agreed that that's the best way to start.
Stick to the music. It's better odds.
Hey, yo, D, we gotta talk. Wu-Tang.
It's the only way we can get to a better future.
Look, I got more mouths to feed. So I'm ready to get busy.
What's gonna be different this time?
This time, I'm gonna have my brothers with me.
What's it been like for you seeing your childhood, your early starts unfold in this series and your family and of your friends? What's that been like for you?
I mean, some of it is, of course, like uplifting and glorifying and magical, right? And some of it is traumatic. You know, we are showing things that, you know, I'm not proud of. I don't regret because I'm still here. But, you know, some of the things that you go through as a young man, trying to find yourself and getting caught up in the world, some of it is despicable, to be honest with you. Yeah. And even though we could say we victim of circumstances or that was the only option, now as a grown man, I could see there was other options. It's just my eyes wasn't open to them at the time. But when my eyes did open to them, when I did realize I was already given a gift within myself, and I should focus on that gift and tell my music and let my art flow, it not only changed my life, right, Kelly? It changed my entire crew's life. Yeah. And then you go back and check some of the Wu-Tang history, you think about all the other side artists and families, or even people, you know, when Kanye West is like, yo, the Wu inspired me, it means it changed countless lives by a positive thought.
Absolutely. You know, I know we're going to really kind of get into the genesis of Wu-Tang as a group and the influence. At least I think we are in this new season. But when did you realize that this was going to hit and that the struggle that we're a part of, I think the circumstances of not only your family, but other families that are represented in this series were going to change dramatically? Like, what was that turning point for you?
I think the turning point for me was my own salvation. Like once I was able to overcome that trial and I was given this second chance, I had an overwhelming jolt of positivity in my heart and mind. And my mother also just gave me this thing, you know, you have a second chance. You know, as we use in the TV series, she says, we dramatize it with the words of, she read this thing from Confucius that says, you know, you have two lives, but the second life began when you realize you only have one. When you realize that this is it, you change all that craziness. And that's when I realized when it was time for me to just go positive. And I just kept, like, I was positive with determination. That's a good thing. Like, so meaning, like, even if that guy was trying to go left, I'm like, no, come this way. Like, I was determined.
You know, I was thinking about how you mentioned earlier, like Kanye West and people that this group and your group members and yourself have inspired over the years and effectively kind of changed the course of pop culture, and most certainly hip hop. But when did you know that the Wu-Tang Clan had influence over the culture the way that it has? Like, I would imagine maybe it happened earlier in your career, or maybe it's just been more recent, but what was the kind of defining moment that said, this is why we existed, this is why we did the things that we did to make this music?
Well, that's actually a hard question to answer in totality, but let me try to skim around it. Look, in the 90s, when we was making our music, we made it with the goal of being the best at doing it. Regardless of if somebody say it sounded lo-fi or hi-fi or sci-fi, I don't care what they said. We were young, energetic MCs and the producers that was like, yo, this is our sound from our streets, from our city, from our neighborhood. This is how we interpret it. And we was very confident that it was a proper interpretation. Now, after we had dropped the album Cuban Links, you know, we was like Wu Gambinos. If you take a look in hip hop, you will notice that the entire landscape changed because everybody started going for their code names now. You know, everyone was going Gambino, right? And or going Mafia, or going look. Even if you go to Rick Ross, right? That's still a long-term effect of Wu Gambinos. It's a long-term effect. But even in the immediate effect, I started seeing all of the MCs in New York popping up with these names, right? Yeah. And then, you know, we had a crew called the Gravediggers. Then we started seeing all this dark hip hop pop up. So we started seeing, you know, a lot of people being the results of what we did. Now, they could have been doing it simultaneously. They could have been doing it before, but they didn't have an outlet, and nor was the industry accepting it. So Wu-Tang, in a way, allowed the industry, and I'll never forget the president of Jive Records telling me, and he said, I want to thank you for bringing back the boom bap.
We've been through our shit.
It could be me in a body bag right now.
Let's use it. Let's make some music.
You sure about the name, Wu-Tang? Yeah, that works.
And when you got 9 members, all with their own story to tell, it's going to resonate with so many people. So you got some people, you know, the only thing they love is Method Man. They don't even like the RZA. But because they love Method Man, they get a dose of Wu-Tang, and it inspires them to go in that direction. And that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. You know, there's no way you're going to remember this, and that is okay. But I first interviewed you probably like 12 or 13 years ago, and it was at the House of Blues in LA. And I think it was like a relaunch of Rock the Bells. But that time would have been in the aftermath of you scoring films, and you were about to do some more of that work. And I thought it was so cool that the work that you had done earlier in your career had bubbled up to someone like Quentin Tarantino, you know, reaching out to you, and then also and it taking off because you were getting many requests from many, you know, kind of celebrated directors to do, music and films to score films. What did that communicate to you about, your career and your contributions, that it had penetrated and moved into a space of Hollywood?
Well, I think like when you're making footsteps, you don't never look back. So that's one thing that happens. Like you just go. Now I can look back a little. I still got a lot of work to do, but I can't look back. But I think the better way for me to look at it is doing what you love, right? Doing what you love and doing it naturally is only going to gravitate to others that do the same. And when it's time that somebody needs what we bring to the world, they'll go get it. It's just like your toolbox. When you need the screwdriver, you go to the toolbox and get the screwdriver, not the pliers. And Wu-Tang, I think we created something that's special. And when other people in the industry needed that vibe to turn to, it was there. And then me as an individual, as an artist, I felt that it's mandatory for an artist to evolve. That was the thing that held me back in the beginning of season 1. You see that Prince Rakeem, he's not allowed to be himself and even go further than himself. But he's willing to try anything. As you notice, he puts on the top hat, okay? But the point of the matter is that you gotta actually be willing to put on the top hat and be willing to take it off. Some people are willing to put it on and never take it off. Some people are scared to put it on. They're scared of failure. You're gonna lose sometimes. I tell my son this all the time, as he playing a basketball game with his friends, or I said, lose. You're gonna lose sometimes. The more you lose in your youth, the more you're used to the losing, so that if it happens in your adulthood, it's just a day gone by. And so for me, climbing the ladder of creativity and evolving, I was able to go ahead and not be shy to enter other arenas. So when I came to Hollywood, I wasn't shy to be me and to show my talent. And fortunately, I was brought in by one of the greatest directors of all time, in all reality, Quentin Tarantino. And, when you got somebody like that, he actually mentored me. So when you got somebody like that mentoring you, you're learning from the highest plane of it. And also other people are like, wow, imagine what he must know.
Right. And I would guess that's how we got here to a series, because you, after working with Quentin Tarantino on those first 2 films, you then ventured out and did your own thing. You started, doing more things behind the scenes in the world of film. You learned a lot. You basically went to college for all those years. And then, full circle, you get to tell your own story on your own terms. And that has to feel very empowering, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of us are blessed to go to college, you look at Spike Lee going to NYU and making his first film, She's Gotta Have It, and then going on to become once again one of the greatest directors of all time. And then he goes back and teach others, right? Yeah. For me, it was definitely a blessing. My college was Quentin Tarantino's house. And I went there so many times in the course of about 6 years. And I got classmates. The advice Quentin told me was right. So write your own stories, because you are writers. You write lyrics and songs, write your own stories. And it led to me writing The Man with the Iron Fist, making a movie. And then we look at this series, Wu-Tang and American Saga. Me and my partner, Alex C., we sat down and we wrote the first 3 episodes to set the tone of what this show could be.
Yeah.
And I think we had the first 3 episodes before we even had a production deal.
RZA, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate you and always love talking to you.
Thank you.